Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheap, Tasty and Filling. I'm doing something a little bit different this week. I'm doing a dessert. Yes, you've probably noticed from the title that it's a fruit crumble. I was thinking about desserts and I thought I haven't done one yet and I think it's time. And I think it's time to do one that's a favourite, firm family favourite from childhood. Now, if you watched our videos, Childhood Desserts, you'd have seen that I did crumble on that one. I thought I'd do this as a standalone video because it is actually an inexpensive dessert to make, which consists usually of ingredients that we've already got in. So the good thing about a crumble is it can be really made with any fruit at all. And I'm sort of demonstrating that today by throwing in what I've got in stock. So just to say, the main body of a crumble, the topping, if you like, is rubbed in fat and flour. So that can be margarine or vegan butter or butter crumbled together, rubbed in together with flour. And you can bulk that out with other ingredients. Ground nuts, oats, anything you want, in fact, that has a crumbly consistency that will go crisp. So I'm bringing this to you because if you worked it out, it wouldn't cost a lot at all. I mean, obviously with any dessert, if you have to go out and buy all the ingredients from scratch, it's going to cost money. So I will try and break down the costs on this one, but it's minimal if you've got these ingredients in the cupboard. I do use one ingredient which is a little bit decadent, it's ground almonds, but we've got them in the cupboard. They need to be used, so I'm using them, basically. Lovely. So let's get on with it. Let's get in the kitchen and do this thing right now and have a lovely dessert for our lunch. We don't normally have desserts. Not really. This is a treat. Go and watch. The thing about a fruit crumble is you can use any fruit you like. Some people say, oh, you've got to use cooking apples. Well, that's just not true. I mean, what is true is that if you use a red apple, it's going to go a lot mushier and very soft quite quickly. If you use a green apple like these Granny Smiths, they're going to hold their shape a lot better, depending on how long you cook them for, obviously. Now for this recipe I'm using green apples because they've, as you can see, seen better days. I'm going to have to cut that bit off. They're sort of on the way out. I'm using a tin of raspberries that I found in the cupboard, which will go off in May. That's its best before date, so I'm going to use those up. I've also got some oats, some ground almonds, which were in the store cupboard, some dried mixed fruit, flour, sugar, just plain old castor sugar, and some butter. Now I'm going to confess, the almonds, the oats, and the dried fruit are all out of date. The only thing that's fresh here really is the flour. The sugar's quite old too, because we don't get through that much sugar. The butter was in the freezer. So in terms of buying anything, the only thing that we've recently bought for this dish is the flour. In terms of amounts, well, I'm probably going to use about 170 grams of flour, probably about 100 grams of sugar, and probably about 100 grams of butter. And then I'm going to bulk it out with oats and ground almonds because we've got them. Generally, you know, things that are in a sealed packet that are dried goods will last a lot longer than their best before date, you know. A best before date is exactly that. It is best before this rather than a use by date, you know. I think people can get a bit confused with those, and you know, people throw stuff away unnecessarily. I think flour should be fresh. I have thrown away old flour in the past. But dried goods generally should be fine. I mean, just do the sniff test. If it smells a bit weird, don't use it. That's it. Okay, I'm going to weigh out some ingredients and get rubbing in, because that's the first thing we need to do. Okay, so you've seen me do the rubbing in before. So I've got about 180 grams of flour, 100 grams of butter. I'm just going to coat the butter in the flour to begin with. It's very cold. It's from the freezer. Clean hands as well. I'm just going to cut up the butter. So I've cut up my butter. I'm just rolling it in the flour, and with clean hands, preferably cold hands, I'm going to start the rubbing in process. We just go in with our hands and just start to combine. Keeping the hands down, I'll lift them to show you what I'm doing. I'm just pressing it together. Because this butter's very cold, you know, it's going to take quite a while. This is the basis for lots of pastry recipes. Some recipes do use oil, I've noticed. I'm going to be experimenting with that at some point in the near future. It does take quite a while to do this, so just persevere. Keep on going. I'm going to turn my hands just to show you what I'm doing. Just rubbing, that's all it is. Rubbing it together. And you'll see that the butter starts to melt in your hands. That's what you want. So you can start combining it. You can see it's starting to get a crumbly texture to it. Let's keep on going. I remember when we were kids doing this at school, and we'd have to bring it to the teacher and say, "Have we done enough yet, miss?" And she'd say, "No, a bit more." I guess it's only with experience that you understand the process and you're able to notice when things are starting to come together. You can see it's starting to get crumbly. And what we're aiming for with this is really a breadcrumb type texture, fine breadcrumbs, or medium to fine breadcrumbs. There is no way to really do this easily. If you're using olive oil, making an olive oil pastry, you can simply combine it with a fork. It's really starting to come together now. Occasionally you might want to just swirl around, make sure all the flour's getting evenly mixed up. You can skip ahead if you know how to do this. This is really the only laborious part of making a crumble. Okay, so we're now at a stage where we've got a fine breadcrumb texture. You can clearly see there's hardly any larger lumps. If there are, we won't worry about them. Actually, it kind of looks like ground almonds. Lovely and crumbly and soft and light. I'm going to add to that 100 grams of caster sugar. You can use brown if you want to. You could use granulated if you wanted to, no problem. Give that a little stir. And that's our basic crumble made. We're going to be adding to that with the oats and the ground almonds, but we're going to do that as a sort of topping. So we're going to set this to one side and get our fruit prepared. Okay, I'm simply going to slice my apples. The way I do that, I don't worry about coring. I cut once, I cut twice, 3 and 4. I'm going to slice them up into smallish pieces. Fresh, lovely. I love the smell of green apples. And I'm going to pop them into my dish over here. Notice I'm not peeling them. I don't peel apples. There's plenty of goodness and fibre in the skin. No point in discarding that. Looks like 4 apples will be just enough, which is great. You want to try and do this as quickly as you can because, as you know, apples will start to brown unless you douse them in lemon juice, and I don't have any lemon juice, so not today anyway. Okay, I'm going to add a good handful of mixed dried fruit. This will add sweetness without adding sugar. Now I've emptied the raspberries into a jug because there's quite a lot of juice in there. I don't really want all of that juice. I'm going to use some. So I'm going to use a spoon and fish out the raspberries and just use a little bit of the juice. They don't look terribly appetizing. Sort of look rather sad. So I've drizzled some of the juice over, which is fine. That'll do. Just giving it a little shake. And I'm simply going to pour the crumble over, the crumble mixture. Into a big pile in the middle. I'm going to use a spoon just to knock it around and spread it out. I'm using the bowl that I made the crumble in. I'm going to pour in some of the ground almonds and some of the porridge oats. Mix them together. Again, pop it into the centre and then spread it around. Notice I haven't added any extra sugar to that because I think with the mixed fruit, the sugar we've already put in, and the apples, of course, and the raspberries, I think there's plenty of sweetness in there. And of course, you know, this can be served with ice cream, it can be served with custard, Custard is probably preferable, or it could be served with natural Greek yogurt. In fact, I think that's what we're going to have it with. So this needs to go into an oven on 170 fan, probably for around 40 minutes until it's lovely and toasty and golden. So it's out of the oven and it's been cooking for around 40 minutes. And as you can see, it's bubbling around the edges. That's what you're looking for. And it's golden on top. So there we have it. Fruit crumble. Easy as pie. So here we are, after lunch. It's not often we have a dessert after lunch, Paul, is it? No, it isn't. But today we are. And it's my fruit crumble with some Greek yogurt on the side. I don't know what it's going to be like. It could be really awful.
It's not on the side, it's on the top.
It could be really tarty. Because I've not put a huge amount of sugar in.
Good. Oh, that's nice. What's that mixed fruit? That's really nice balance, actually.
Oh, it's not too sweet.
I hate things when they're too sweet.
The apple's still quite firm.
Very nice. It's sort of like a crumble with some mincemeat as well.
I think the mixed fruit, it's plumped up a little bit with the juice from the raspberries.
Oh, did you put the juice of the raspberries
Not all
in?
of it, Paul, not all of it.
I think it's very nice. An elevated crumble.
Yeah, it's lovely. Quite pleasant.
Have we got another portion?
There's another couple of portions.
And there's
Delicious. Oats and ground almonds on the top.
It really is lovely.
So we're going to enjoy this now. See you very soon for another cheap, tasty and filling recipe. This is very filling, actually. This is super.
I couldn't do more than 2 portions at once.
Bye.
Bye.